Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to do a video on macrame plant hangers. So if you follow me on any of my social media, Instagram, Facebook, not really Snapchat. Again, I have not returned back to Snapchat since the unfortunate dick pic that I got sent. Wasn't fun. But if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, or here in my vlogs, you know that I'm obsessed with plants. Like, I'm obsessed with them. I have quite a few plants, and since I've been filling up floor space and counter space and shelves, I've needed to find a new way to hang my plants. I really like the look of macrame hangers. I'm so happy that they're kind of back in style. And I recently, I guess it was over the winter, took a macrame class to make a wall hanging. So combining those two loves of mine and the fact that I love crafting, I started making macrame planter hangers. First and foremost, I want to just make sure you guys remember, I am not a professional crafter. I don't necessarily know the correct terminology for any of these things, any of the knots, any of the crap that I'm using to make these things. So if you're looking for a video with all the technical jargon and all of that, then click away. This is just how I make the hangers, and yeah. Starting out, you'll want to get some cord of some sort. I think you could probably just use any type of cord that knots well. I've seen people use paracord, I've seen people use hemp, I've seen people use jute cord or whatever. I prefer the traditional macrame 100% cotton natural cord. There's like this smaller size right here. I like to use this like right here. This is just, I don't know if there's a sticker, says natural 100% cord. I'll leave links to all this stuff underneath this video for you guys too, but these two are from the same brand. This size right here is 8 millimeters thick. It's 100 feet. This right here I can get 3 plant hangers worth out of. I've already made a few using this. I'm not sure what size this one is. This is, I think, like the size down, but I'll show you the plant that I have hanging off here. You can do different sizes just to get different size of thickness on your planters. So it just depends on personal taste and what you're hanging. You can also do colors. I want to kind of experiment with some colors as well. So I do have like a nice fun teal and also a gray. So I'm gonna do maybe a colored one. I haven't decided completely. You'll also either want to get like a loop. If you're hanging it from the ceiling and you want like a decorative hanging thing, you can get these wooden type circles, or you know, metal, or whatever you want. Honestly, anything that is a full circle you can use, or you can also just use the loop to hang. Like, you can just make yourself a loop too, which I'll show you that. It doesn't matter. It's all up to you. That's the nice thing about crafting and doing stuff yourself, is that you can kind of make things however you want. Then you'll want some type of pot to put your plant into the hanger. So this is from IKEA. This is the Ingefära. Probably butchering that name. I really like these because they're terracotta, so they're really good. They have really nice drainage, so this is really good for plants in general. But you can honestly put anything in a macrame plant hanger, as long as, if it does have drainage at the bottom, as long as it's got a dish. So you'll want to have a dish underneath so that you don't have, when you water your plant, just like pouring out. So I really like these just because they're super affordable, but you can get any type of pot that you want. It doesn't matter, just as long as, if you do have drainage, just make sure to have some type of saucer, or be very aware that there's a hole at the bottom of your plant. I feel like that's just common sense. I get asked all the time how I hang my plants from the ceiling, and I honestly don't do the hanging. My husband does the hanging, but we use these spring-loaded anchors for the ceiling. So when you like put the hole in, you put this up, it kind of just like pops open. They sell these kits online as well. I will link that under there too. But yeah, that's how we want to make sure it's anchored, because when you water a plant, it gets really heavy because the soil gets heavy, and we don't want anything crashing through the ceiling. So we're currently in my office right now. As you can see, like I said, I love my plants. My office is also my laundry room, as you guys know, or maybe don't know, but that's my laundry room as well. So it's kind of a multi-purpose room for me. Like I said, I love plants, and this is only some of my plants. If you follow me online, you know I have plants in every single room, but I want my office to feel as like homey, and it's kind of like my she shed as well, because I don't have room in my backyard for a she shed or the money for one. So this is just like my mom cave slash laundry room slash crafting slash filming slash plant room. But these are my hangers right here. I have a bunch of Hoyas and a string of hearts here, and this is what they look like. So like I said, depending on how thick your cord is, that's gonna be how thick your hanger will be. So the thickest one, the one that I showed you first, that will make a thickness of this right here, and then the thinner cord will make you a smaller. So as you see, I wanted a smaller planter here, so I thought it'd be fun to play around to see what these smaller knots would look like. I also have a planter upstairs in my bedroom, which has some different knots, and yeah. So if you guys want to do a double hanger, it's pretty easy. All you do is basically just knot off the bottom and then just continue down with a new one. This was kind of a mistake that I made. I wanted to hang 4 plants here. What I did was I got away with not putting in a 4th hole in the wall, and instead I took the bottom of this, I looped it through a circular wooden thing, did a wrap knot, and then added another hanger, just doing some simple knots. But yeah, that's how I got away from that. But if you are already planning on doing a dual hanging thing like this, just instead of cutting it off at the bottom, just do a wrap knot and continue down with your knotting. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do 2 different knots. The swirl one is what I prefer in regards to the hanging part, but I will show you the square knot as well, because you'll use the square knot to make these knots right here, which is what holds your planter up and in place. And then the square knot, if you continue it down, it'll do a nice flat square thing like the one upstairs in my bedroom. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it, because I feel like I'm rambling and I'm already uncomfortable because I hate doing these videos. And the only reason why I say I hate doing these videos is just because I don't feel like I'm equipped to be telling you guys how to do these things, but I've said this in numerous videos and you guys still don't seem to care. If I am sweating profusely and if I end up showing like pit stains, it's because it's hot in our basement. We don't have air conditioning, and I have all of my grow lights and studio lights on right now so that you guys can see me. So I'm hot. So first things first, we want 12 strands to work with. So because each cord is 3 strands combined, that means we need 4 pieces of cord, so that way when we unravel it, it makes 12, because 3 times 4 is 12. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the full length. Length when it comes to the cords is hard for me to be able to tell you guys, because if you want a longer hanging plant, if you have higher ceilings, then you'll obviously want more length. So for me, I don't know what length you want, or if you want a shorter hanger. So you're kind of just gonna have to guess how much length you need. Advice to you is to err on the side of caution though, and have more to start off with, because you can always cut cord off and either recycle it or use it for a later project, but it's harder to add length. So just keep that in mind. I will give you guys the length that I'm using though for my cord, just so that way if you want a hanger that's my length, then you can do that. But again, if you want a longer hanger, make sure to have more length. But what I like to do is I like to just kind of pull my cord out, and because again, each cord is 3 strands, I'm going to just measure out, and then I'm going to fold this in half, so then I have 4. Got it? Hope that makes sense. Alright, so I have about 30 feet of cord right here, give or take a couple inches. Like I said, you want to do 1 long cord, you'll fold that in half, and then you'll fold that in half again, so that way you have it like this, 2 on each sides of your thumb. And then on this side, you will have a loop and then your 2 singles. So fold your 30 length cord in half and then in half again. So that way you have it looped over your thumb, and then one side you have your 2 single ends of your cord, and then the other side of your thumb, that end will be another loop, because you fold it in half and fold it half again. So once you have them both equally even on each ends, and it's even on each side of your thumb, you're going to take the end that has this loop right here. You take that end, you take your scissors, and you're gonna cut it. So now, holding on to the center still, you'll have all the ends cut at the bottom, and your thumb's gonna be in the center, Alright, so now that you have the center of that, you're going to cut off a piece of cord, I'm gonna say at least 2 feet long, just to be safe. You're gonna do that, and then you're going to unravel it so you have just one single strand, like this. But again, it's gonna be 2 feet long, so it's gonna be like this long, okay? Then taking one of your single strands of the 2 feet long that you just cut off of your roll, not off of the 30 feet that we just cut. We're gonna then proceed to make the hanging top part of our planters. If you're going to use any type of circular whatever to hang your plant, this is the time to put it in between your 2 strands. So again, keeping your fingers centered, we're gonna pull this right there. So this is the time to do that. If you don't want one of these, you don't have to. You can make your own loop by just leaving this empty like this and then starting your wrap knot underneath your thumb, and then it can hang from here. So you don't have to use one of these. This is just a decorative option. But if you are gonna use one of these, now's the time to put that in. Now we're gonna proceed on to the wrap knot. So holding your macrame like this around your little loop, you're gonna take your single strand of roughly 2 feet of cord. Then what we're going to do is we're gonna have about an inch or two, probably 2 inches, hanging up like this. Hold with your thumb. Then you're gonna take your strand, pull it down. Maybe, I like to do like 3 fingers worth, like that. So you have 2 inches up here, then you have 3 fingers worth here, and then you're gonna fold it up. So I'm gonna hold that and fold it up like this. Then what you're gonna do is take your forefinger, hold it, or your pointer finger, sorry, hold it down. Again, we have this end up here 2 inches. We're holding down the loop down here with our ring finger, and we're gonna start wrapping it around. So we're gonna tightly wrap it, leaving this 2 inches hanging. We're gonna very tightly wrap it. Again, the 2 inches are still up here. Then we have our loop down here. We're gonna wrap it down and around, like so, tightly. Now after we get close to the loop at the bottom, again, we still have our 2 inches up at the top, we're gonna take this last wrap around and we're gonna loop it through here, like so. So it's looped through when we wrapped it around, and we're gonna hold this tight still, and we're gonna pull this up. So what happens is when we pull the 2 inches up, it's gonna pull the bottom string up into this wrap. See how this is starting to move up here? So I'm gonna keep pulling it up. Sorry, this is hard to do like in screen, but you're gonna just pull it up. Now you don't want to pull the string and loop all the way up to the top. You want it kind of nestled somewhere here. So you just want to yank it up so that way it's taut. Then you're going to be left with 2 strands like this. Again, this is the strand that had the 2 inches that we used to pull it up, and this is the rest of the strand here. That loop that we made at the bottom and the end is up here still, holding this in place. So now that we know that this is tight because you've pulled, we're going to trim off this bottom piece. At least that's how I do it. Again, I might be wrong, but this is what works for me. And then we're gonna just snip off the ends. Be careful not to snip any of this because we're gonna use this. So that is what it will look like. Again, if you're not using these right here, it's perfectly fine. You can make your own loop right here using just the top of this cord. So this is what you should have now, is you should have whatever you're using right here, or just your little knot using your cord, and then you should have 4 free hanging 30-foot cord. Again, it's 30 feet altogether, not each one of these is 30 feet, because again, we did the 30 feet, we folded it in half, and then we folded it in half again over our thumb to make 4. So 30 divided by 4, that's how long each one of these cords are. Where it gets a little bit tricky. Since we're dealing with so much cord, you want to have your strands hanging from a really tall thing. I've seen people use like their closets for this, where they'll just use like an S-hook and hook their top of their ring to the S-hook over like a hanger or something, or off of like a closet rod. You just want it hanging down so that way you can freely work with your material. The taller the better, and then I like to just stand on something to kind of get up and get down. But if you don't have that, that's fine. It's just gonna be a little bit more, oh, here comes the dog. It's just gonna be a little bit more difficult. I mentioned earlier we need 12 strands to work with, and this right here is only 4. But again, these cords are 3 strands put together. So now we're gonna do the tedious act of unwinding all 4, which it's only tedious because there's so much cord to unravel. And it starts off easy at first, as you can see. You can start unraveling it, but then as you get higher up, it gets way more difficult and just way more annoying. So I'm gonna sit here and unravel this and watch TV for a little bit, and yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Again, I told you, this is the most tedious part, and probably is what takes me the longest. Now that I have all my knots down, I can knock out a hanger in like 20 minutes. I'd say 20 minutes. But it's this part that takes forever. So if you have like a friend or a husband or a child who maybe wants to help you and tackle one of the 4 strands, it'll make it go a lot faster. Some people think this is therapeutic. I could live without this part. If you're not working with a cord or material that has 3 strands like this, and so you don't have to unravel them, just remember you need 12 strands to work with. 12 strands. And you need to also loop it over that hook or that ring or whatever you decide to use. So if you are just going to be using like a material that's already just 1 strand that's this size, remember, do 6 long strands and then fold it in half over your thumb, so that way you still have 6 on each side of whatever hook you're using. Does that make sense? So that way you wind up with a nice knot up top. I hope this makes sense. I feel like it's common sense, but at the same time, if you're anything like me, even common sense when you're doing something that you're not used to doing goes out the window. Is that just me? Maybe that's just me. Probably way better tutorials out there, but you guys asked for me to make one, so I'm gonna, because I love you. Yeah, see, now it starts getting more difficult because the ends down at the bottom want to start knotting, so yeah.
I mean, you can practically smell the bills becoming.
Alright, so I just got 1 cord fully unraveled to make 3 strands. Again, we need 12 strands. Remember that, 12 strands, 6 on each side of your hoop. So I just got 1 done. Again, as you saw, the taller or higher you have it up, the easier it's gonna be to unravel these, because it gets tangled at the bottom if it's like brushing up against the ground and stuff. So try to get as high as possible, comfortably and as safely as you can. But again, it's not necessary, it just makes it a little bit easier. But now that I have this 1 divided into 3, I'm gonna go finish the other 3, and I will let you guys not have to endure that. Because it's gonna be boring. So I'm gonna watch some Parks and Rec and then unravel the other ones, and then I will, yeah. I am finished, and I really wish I could show you guys how my camera is set up right now, because it is terrifying to me. This setup is not safe. Anyways, we have all of our strands undone, as you can see. Again, we need 12 strands, 12 strands. I'm gonna be doing the swirl because I just prefer that aesthetically. But again, I will be sharing the square knot as well, because we do need to use the square knot to be able to have the plant sitting in the thing without falling out. So first off, we're gonna take 4 of the strands and put the other strands to the side, okay? So let's see if I can try to hide these strands so that way you guys don't get confused. When it comes to macrame knotting, you're always using 4. Not only that, but you're always gonna have 2 in the center that are stationary and 1 on each side that are the working strands that you're using. So no matter what, you want 2 in the center, 1 on each side. So you want to pick strands that are kind of close to each other at your knot, just so that it looks really nice when you're done. But you're gonna take your 2 working strands on each side, and again, this is gonna be the spiral knot that I'm showing you. And you're going to take the one in your left hand. If you're left-handed, you could go the opposite way too, but I am right-handed. So I'm gonna take my left, again, if you're left-handed, you can go the other way. So this left strand's gonna come over, and I'm gonna hold it like this. So it's like this, while still with that. I don't know if you can see, so this is kind of how your hand's gonna be. And then I'm gonna take my right strand, and I'm gonna loop it under and behind the 2 stationary. I'm gonna pull it through the front. So I'm gonna show that again, and then I'm gonna tie it up. So again, I'm gonna take what's in my left hand, I'm gonna move it over the 2 stationary strands in the center, take my now right strand, and it's gonna go under and then come back through behind these 2 stationary, like so. And I'll do that a few times for you. And again, we're gonna just work that up, tighten it, like so. Again, take what's in my left side now over the 2 stationary ones. We're not even using these yet. These are the 2 stationary ones, these are the working ones. We're gonna take what's in my left hand in front of the 2 stationary strands. Right strand goes underneath, and behind the 2 and pulls forward. So we'll do that a few more times. Sorry, my shoulders are getting tired. This is a workout. 2 stationary in the center. We're gonna take that left strand, we're gonna cross it in front. So the left strand, cross it in front, hold it there. We're gonna take our right strand, and it's gonna go in front of the left strand, up, and then behind the 2 and forward, and then tie it up. And we're just gonna keep going the same direction, because I want all of mine spiraling the same direction. So again, left side in front of the stationary 2 in the center, right side underneath, so underneath, and then behind the 2 stationary. It's gonna come behind the 2 stationary and then pulls through the front like that. I know I'm becoming very repetitive, but I feel like that's important. Again, make a 4, grab, tie up. And then as it starts turning, you're still gonna work with the 2 outside strands, and it will keep spinning like that. Alright, so I'm not making my hanger super long, and I would like some tassel at the bottom. So I'm going to stop with this one, and I'm going to move on to my next 4. So let's bring this down. I'm going to take the next 4 strands that are next to them, and we're going to do the same exact thing. 2 in the center that are stationary, 1 on each side that are working. And again, you just want to keep going the same direction, so that way all of them swirl to the same direction. Then we have all 3 of our sections basically to the length that we want it, or at least I do. This is what it looks like. Sorry, I'm really trying to film this the best way possible by myself without killing my camera or myself. Your working strands on the outsides are of course going to be shorter, and then your stationary ones are going to be longer. That's okay, because we're going to switch gears now. However long you do your swirly decorated parts, that's going to be how long your hanger is essentially going to be. I don't want mine super long because I want it a little bit higher up off the ceiling. I don't want it very low. So this is not going to be a super duper long hanger. Just keep that in mind. But once you get to the point of how long you want it, that's when you're going to start doing your square knots to be putting your pot into its little nestled position. But what we're gonna do from here is now we're gonna take what was previously our working strands, and those are gonna become our center strands. So we're gonna do the same concept, except for we are going to use different strands. So taking 2 of your spirals, you're gonna hold them flat like this, and you're gonna take the 2 outsides of each one. So you have 4 right here, 4 right here, flat in your hand, and you're gonna take the left side of one of the working strands, so the left side, and then you're gonna take the right working strand of another one, if that makes sense, and then those are gonna be your 2 center strands. Okay, these are gonna be your stationary strands now. So now you have 2 in the center, and then the one next to it that used to be a center strand. And again, you wanna make sure like they stay flat like this, like all 4 flat, because if you accidentally grab one over the other and it crisscrosses, it's just gonna look funny, and if you're OCD like me, it's gonna bother you. So try to keep everything as flat as possible like this. So again, you can see how these 2 center strands, the stationary strands, you can tell which ones are which, right? Because these working strands are out farther. So again, you're gonna take the outside working strand from one to the other one. Those are now stationary strands. And then take the closest stationary strand to that outside one of each one, and that's gonna become your 2 now working strands, okay? So these are now your working strands. So now that we have our center strand, we're gonna go down, and again, you might wanna use your pot to kind of figure out how big or large your pot is, but I like to go down about 4 or 5 inches, and I like to pinch them together like this. So I like to hold them, make sure that they're even and level, and pinch them together. Now we're gonna take our new outside working strands, and we're gonna do a square knot. Again, we're gonna pinch the 2 center strands, the new ones, about 4 or 5 inches down, and we're gonna take our outside left strand, the working strand, and we're gonna cross it over the same way, okay? Cross it over the 2 now center strands. Take our right working strand, go in front and behind and bring it in the front, just like we did with the spiral. So this first one's gonna be exactly the same as the spiral, and we're just gonna hug it right there, okay? Hug it right there. Now we're not gonna knot it all the way up, we're gonna hug it right there and just leave it, okay? About 4 to 5 inches below, so that way we have it looking like this. And then we're gonna go the opposite way. We're gonna do the exact same thing that we just did, but instead we're gonna do it the opposite way. So before we took our left working strand first and looped it in front and then took our right behind and through, now we're gonna take our right working strand, we're going to put it in front of the center 2, we're gonna take our left working strand and we're gonna go in front and behind and then pull it through the front of the right working strand. So again, this is a square knot. It's basically this spiral knot, but instead of keeping on going one direction and using the same, left to right, left to right, left to right, we're gonna do a left to right and then a right to left. So then this is what your knot will look like. So then it's all connected, and now you have 2 new center stationary strands that are short, and then you should have 2 outside working strands that are super long. So we're gonna do that one more time, actually 2 more times, because now that we have these 2 connected, we're gonna move on to the next one. So these are like this, and then we're gonna take the next one over here that's next to it, and we're gonna connect those. So we're gonna lay it flat like this, and then you can tell the 2 stationary strands are tucked next to each other, and then the outside ones are there. So we're gonna go over here, and it should look like that, and we're gonna grab these 2 strands, see? Because this one's already connected to this, so these are the 2 left over. We're gonna take those 2 strands, and then we're gonna take these 2 strands off this one. So again, the outside working strand of the other spiral is gonna become the center stationary, and then the center stationary one is gonna become our new outside working strand. So like I said, we're gonna take the 2 that are left over, and then we're gonna take this outside strand that was our working strand from the next spiral over. That's gonna become our stationary strand. And then we're gonna take our stationary strand right here, and that's now gonna become our working strand. So it should look like that, okay? Does that make sense? All right, so same thing. We're gonna come down 4 to 5 inches, make sure it's level to the knot next to it. And we're gonna do the same thing again, spiral knot beginning. So we're gonna take our left, we're gonna loop it over, take our right, and we're gonna go in front and up, and then through this front one. So same knot we've been doing this whole time, same exact way. And again, you just want to make sure that it's level to this other knot next to it. And then we're going to do the opposite direction. So we're going to take our right strand this time. We're going to lay it in front of the two center strands, holding this open. Take our left strand and it's going to go in front and then behind and then up through. So exactly the same knot we've been doing, but instead it's mirrored. It's the opposite direction. And then we're going to tighten it. We're not going to tighten it all the way up. We're going to keep it where it is nestled, so that way it is level to the other one. And if you need to loosen it a little bit, you can loosen it a little bit, because it looks like my knot's a little bit higher. So we're going to play around with that to try to get it level to that one. Now that we have those two, see how we got all of them connected? Yay! We have two more left. So I'm going to spin this real quick. 4 strands left now, because the other ones are all connected. So that's pretty easy to figure out which ones go where. And we only have 4 left. The 2 previous shorter working strands are now your center stationary strands, and your old stationary strands that should be super long are now your outside working strands. So again, you're going to come down through 4 to 5 inches, depending. It's up to you. And also start your knot way lower. Like if you want to just have some like blank space, you can start your knot lower, and then it will be spiral, 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 and then blank space, and then your pot sits lower. Play around with it. You can do whatever you want. This knot right here is not important in regards to how high or low you make them. It's going to be the second knot at the bottom that's going to be the most important, that keeps the planter in place. So again, you can just keep going down and make your knot like super long down here, and then it will just be kind of like regular cord, which can look really, really cool. It's up to you. The more you do it, the more you'll learn and try to make variations, but I kind of want all my planters in this room to look alike, so that's why I'm doing it this way. And then again, you're going to do the same thing. Take your left working, cross it over, hold it, right working comes in front of that strand, and then up and behind the 2 stationary center strands to come through the front of this one. And again, you want to make sure that you tie it about level with the other 2. And then now take the opposite and go in front, and then take your left one this time and goes up and behind the 2, and then through the front, and then again knot. And then that is a square knot. So if you would like a flat square knotted look all the way down, like the one in my bedroom, you would just repeat that over and over again. You do a right knot, then a left knot, a right knot, and a left knot, and then that'll make that nice laddery, flat, square look. So this is what we have so far. This is what it should look like, kind of like a net. All of your things are connected. This is where you want to go grab your planter. So this is where you want to kind of feel out where you want your pot. So from here, you could easily just tie off the bottom and do a knot. That's, I think, what I'm gonna do, because I'm pretty happy with this, and it will sit like this. Or you can continue to do another knot if you'd like some clear space, and you can move this down lower, and you can do another knot connecting to have it sit lower. Again, I would do this when you're closer to the ground, because if I drop this thing's breaking all over the ground, but for filming purposes, this is what we're doing. But you want to make sure it's secure, like it's not gonna fall out anywhere. If you have a taller pot, or your pot needs to sit down lower, you would just continue to do more of these square knots using these cords. In other words, you would do another knot. So you could do, I'll just do one just because. Go down another 4 inches and then do the same type of knot, square knot. You can do that. Like so. You'll be making 2 new stationary and 2 new working from the strands next to them. So. Okay, so you can have like, well actually I kind of like that better. I think we're gonna stick with this actually. But again, it looked perfectly fine when it was sitting up higher, and I only had to do 1 extra knot there too. So you can do whatever feels right or whatever looks right. Just make sure you have enough knots and triangles like this to keep a planter in place so it doesn't fall out. You're done when you have the length and you've done these knots and all of that. You're gonna take one of your center strands. You wanna pick one that's super long and past the length of everything else, and you're just gonna cut off the end. Again, you don't want to cut it any shorter than the shortest ones there. And this is what we're gonna use now to wrap around and do another wrap knot at the bottom of the planter. So again, I would suggest doing this somewhere where it's lower to the ground, because if you drop the planter while you're doing this, then your planter is gonna break. But because again, for filming purposes, I can't really station you anywhere better, we're just gonna do it right here. And I'm just gonna pray that I don't drop it. So you're gonna put your pot in, and then you're gonna grab the bottom sections. Again, do it lower to the ground if you have to, or have somebody with you maybe holding it in place. That's also helpful. And you're gonna find where you want your planter to sit. You know, you can have it sit lower or you can have it sit higher, either way. I like the look of it kind of being right at the edge of where the spiral ended. So we're gonna do it right there. And then once you have all of your strands gathered underneath your pot held, and you're happy with where it looks position-wise, take it out while still holding the bottom. So you'll take out your planter. Don't let go of this, because that's your guide. And then where you have your thumb or your hands is where we're gonna do our wrap knot. Same as where the beginning was. So we're gonna take our long strand that we just cut off, and we're gonna leave about 2 inches of a tail up at the top. And then we're gonna take this part and then again make a loop at the bottom. We're gonna start wrapping it around. Same as before, leaving that tail 2 inches up. Same as before. And we're gonna wrap it around tightly. And I don't think you guys can see me, but again, just refer back to the beginning of the video if you don't remember how to do that wrap knot. And then you can do this as long as you want. Like you can do a really long wrap knot, which actually might look kind of cool, or you can do it really short. It's just all personal preference. But just make sure to keep that 2 inches out. And make sure not to go past your loop at the bottom, which is what you're gonna use as your pull through. So here's my little pull through that I left on the bottom. You guys remember that? We're gonna put this end through it, like so. And we're gonna use the 2-inch tail to yank it back up exactly the same way as we did with the top. And you just want to make sure it's secure, because that's what your plant's going to be sitting in. Now don't cut off any of this yet until you have your planter in here and you know it's secure. And there we go, it's perfect. So once you are happy with everything and your pot's not gonna fall out, you wanna make sure these triangles are not bigger than the pot. You can go ahead and start trimming stuff off. Ooh, I really like the way this turned out. So how long your tails are is just a personal preference. You can have them as long or as short as you want. I'm going to cut mine probably like right here, I think. And I'm gonna cut mine straight across. You can do whatever length you want. You can have it look as whatever shaggy as you want. But I kind of like the clean one length look. So now that I'm happy with where the knots are set, I'm gonna trim off again those tails, that 2-inch tail that I had. Trim that off, and then the other one looks like it's kind of disappeared already, so we'll leave it like that. If you want, you can unravel these to make them look really fringy if you want, or you can just leave them as is. It's all, again, personal preference. I like to unfringe a few of them though, just to kind of make it look a little bit more full. It's not a big deal. You can leave them however you want. But yeah. Alright guys, so here is what my macrame hanging planter looks like. I love it. I think it turned out really, really well. I would say this is hanging about like 1.5 feet to almost 2 feet. So that's how long it will hang from the ceiling. So again, I used 30 feet altogether, split into 4 of course. And this is the length that I got. If you want to do longer, if you want to err on the side of caution, again, I don't have exact measurements for how much cord you need, just because everybody's houses are different. We have really low ceilings. A lot of people have super tall ceilings. So kind of, again, just the cord's not very expensive. So just err on the side of caution. And if you need to like make a super extra long cord and then cut stuff off in the end, it's better to do that than to regret how long you made it. But this is how I make just a standard spiral style knot macrame planter. Again, you can do square knots, you can have blank spaces. It just depends on how you knot it. how you want to do it, but that is the basics on how to do it. And once I learned the basics on knotting, I just kind of used my imagination to make different types of planters and hangers and all of that. I put a pothos in here. I had some cuttings that I propagated from one of my marble queens, which was reverting back to all green. As you can see, there's still some speckles of gold in here, but I had some cuttings that I water propagated that needed to be potted. Potted. I love the look of just like the green and the terracotta and the macrame. It's just so classic. Let me know below if you like these DIY videos. Give it a thumbs up. Thanks for the suggestion. I again hope it was helpful. If not, I apologize, but I did the best of what I could do with what I had. Again, if my video was not helpful enough, I highly suggest checking out other people's videos. But hopefully you got the gist and are making beautiful planters yourself. And if you do, make sure to let me know. Send me pictures on Instagram or tag me in your posts. I love seeing what you guys make and create and all of that. But yes, there you have it. There is my DIY macrame plant hanger. Sorry, I'm a hot, sweaty mess. Like, I have sweat dripping down my back, but it's that hot in here. Like, oh my god, it's so hot. So perfect for my plants. My tropical plants love this humidity and this heat in here, but not for human beings. Yeah, I hope this is helpful. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye.